All right, so we've known for some time now that Stranger Things Part 2 is going to be the next licensed chapter, and we've known that Vecna is going to be the next licensed killer. What we don't know are who the two survivors are. Well, that was until today. Welcome to In the Loop, your number one source for Dead by Daylight news, and today we're going to talk about the hints that Dead by Daylight has been dropping on Twitter. Now, I want to preface this. I have only watched a handful of episodes of Stranger Things, like while I'm like cooking or something and it's on in the background. I actually had to have my wife, South Loop Cass, come over and explain some of the stuff that's going on in these pictures here. But I'll say this, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to piece these together. Let's start off with the first teaser. Now, the first teaser is for the survivor Dustin. So Dustin is gonna be the first survivor, unless they're throwing us for like a complete loop. Have you guys ever seen that episode of Always Sunny where they got the Pepe Sylvia, where he's connecting the dots trying to figure out like who Pepe Sylvia is? This is my version of that. And we got the cap that's linked to, like, obviously that's the hat that he wears. That's like noticeable to me, and I'm not even a Stranger Things fan. You have the yellow gloves, kind of seems like a stretch, but Dustin wears yellow gloves, and then a walkie-talkie. Like, I guess, I don't know, Dustin is using his walkie-talkie to like communicate plans or whatever. He uses a lot of walkie-talkies from my knowledge. You guys might know better than me. So the second teaser has a little more nuance, I guess you could say, but it's 11. So 11's apparently a pretty big character, like a main character. Like, I don't know. Again, I'm not the biggest Stranger Things head. I knew who Dustin was. 11 didn't jump out to me like right away, but those are the two survivors. How do we know this? First, the Eggo. I'm an Eggo enthusiast myself, so I can appreciate this. A lot of you guys might not know, I start most mornings with 2 Eggos in sugar-free syrup. Well, 11 apparently is a big Eggo fan. We also have the blood that's on the table to simulate the bleeding nose. Like, that's kind of a clear sign. Eggo's the bleeding nose. There's also the bracelet. I don't know the whole story behind the bracelet. Apparently, this was a bracelet given to 11, and 11 wears it throughout the show. So those 3 items basically confirm that it's Dustin and 11. Now, I'm interested for the Stranger Things heads out there. Is this who you wanted? Is this who you expected? Is this good? Is this bad? Are these like fun characters? Are they boring characters? I don't know. They seem important enough. Goated choice, good potential for legendary skins. What would be the legendary skins though? One thing that is kind of up in the air that we don't have a lot of clarity is this photo that was in the second teaser. So this photo doesn't seem to really have anything to do with either of the characters. And when you enhance it, there's a little enhancement right there, a little zoom in. It appears to be a crane machine or like some type of like arcade game, which has a lot of people believing that they're also going to do something with the Palace Arcade from Stranger Things. So a lot of people are thinking, oh, maybe they're also teasing a new map. Well, not so fast, because when we look at the roadmap for year 10 of Dead by Daylight, if you guys remember, this chapter was originally set to drop in November. Well, it got pushed back to January. It shows 1 killer and 2 survivors. So it says nothing about a map. My guess is it's kind of gonna be like a Greenville spin-off. So like Greenville already has the arcade in there. If I were to put money on it, I would say that maybe they just like update Greenville for a short period of time to make it like Stranger Things themed. Or it's kind of also giving me like the FNAF DLC. So, with FNAF, they hyped up the pizzeria, and it's basically Greenville, but you take out the theater and replace it with the pizzeria. So it could be something like that as well. I don't know if you guys remember the whole Walking Dead conundrum where that thing was a mess. It was the Withered Owl realm, and at first they said it was a new map, and then they said it was just going to be a tile, but then they said the tile was going to spawn on other maps, and it didn't, and it turned out to be like a like kind of, makeshift's a bad word, but like a poor man's map, and people were upset about it. So in this situation with like the Stranger Things arcade, if I were to guess, I would say maybe Behavior doesn't want to they would rather underpromise and overperform than overpromise and underperform. So because they're not announcing a map, but they're kind of teasing a map, if I were to guess, they don't want to hype people up like they like the mistake they made with Freddy Fazbear and Walking Dead. They kind of want to like not say anything about it and then release this and people are like excited about it. Yeah, so Starcourt Mall is another map that people have guessed that maybe that picture is leaking towards. So a lot of people have asked me, you know, am I excited about the Stranger Things chapter? And the answer is yes. I mean, these three characters are most likely, I mean, it's not confirmed yet, but are most likely coming to the game. And I think of like Demogorgon and Steve and Nancy. I mean, Demogorgon, super well-rounded killer, super fun killer. It seems like survivors like to play against him as well, and I like to play as him. And then Steve's are annoying and Nancy's are annoying, but I see a lot of them in my game. So I feel like this chapter is going to sell well, which is, you know, good for Behavior, but good for the health of the game. And I think people are going to use the characters. You know, it's probably not the most exciting. Like I would be more excited about maybe a new license or FNAF Part 2, but yeah, I think it's going to be a win. So hey there, you can watch the full episode of In the Loop on my Twitch, or you could click this playlist right here.